recap. This was a really good event. I actually really enjoyed this event. Hold on a second. Let me go grab my stuff because I don't have any pants on. So here you go. Because obviously, you know. Okay. All right, let's go. So in this event, what we had and what we saw was I didn't watch the undercard fights. Sorry, but whatever. I watched Dan Hooker versus Nasrat. What's his name? Nasrat something. I don't know. But that was actually a really good fight. I enjoyed it. The 3 rounds that it happened for, I actually really enjoyed it. Now, if you look at Dan Hooker's troubles before the fight and how much he had to endure to actually get to the fight, it was really, really sad. You know, the man's been through so much with his visa issues. And I'm like, why is New Zealand making it so hard for these fighters to just travel to another country? I mean, it can't be that hard to issue a fucking visa. I mean, that probably doesn't take too long. I don't think that's a thing that takes too much effort. I think they probably don't want them to fight, but it's in the US. You know, it's not in New Zealand, so they can't really control what goes on in the US. But what I'm thinking is, why are these guys, like, I think New Zealand looks at MMA as an underground sport, this brutal sport where people are just beating each other up. They don't look at it as a sport. I guess they look at it as some type of event that people just do for money. I don't know, but I don't know, man. It just seems very strange to me that. But let's get into the fight. Let's talk about the fight. This fight, Dan Hooker, he showed a lot of new wrinkles to his game. Like, he was able to start wrestling Nasrat and take him down in the second round and the third round. And that's really what stood out to me, is his ability to wrestle. And, you know, given the fact that he wasn't even able to train with a live training partner to grapple and to try and get ready for wrestling for the 4 weeks before this fight, kind of adds to the whole ambiance of it, and adds to the level of fighter and the heart that Dan Hooker actually has. You know, it kind of elevates him a little bit more because of the things that he had to go through just to make it to the fight. And then he wins the fight and he dominates the fight with grappling, and he's known as a stand-up fighter. Very impressive. You know, it's MMA, man. Like, you're a mixed martial artist. You're not just a striker. You're not just a grappler, and you're not just a submission artist, and you're not just a wrestler or whatever. So you gotta be able to mix it up, man. This is all about mixed martial arts. You know, I know. MMA tends to remain standing for the majority. Like, if we were to add up every fucking second, every fighter fights standing versus the amount of fights that have been taken to the ground, of course, the standing is gonna be more proliferant and is going to be more numerous and it's going to be longer, of course. But yeah, Dan Hooker, man, dominated the fight, won the fight. Nice. Who do I like to see him fight next? Well, he's going to be fighting Islam Makhachev on short notice, so that's going to be interesting. October the 30th, he took the short notice fight because, you know, RDA's leg was injured or something, so he took a short notice fight against Islam Makhachev, who is considered one of the best, if not the best, at lightweight, because he's the protege of Khabib. You know, Khabib's this guy that's this lightweight GOAT. We all know he's the best. He's the best at lightweight, undisputed champion, defended the title 3 times. And I mean, me personally, I feel like Dan Hooker shouldn't be taking this short notice fight because you don't have enough time to prepare for Islam Makhachev. He's a very good wrestler and he's a grappler. I know you showed a couple of more elements to your game in the last fight against Nasrat, but Islam Makhachev is a whole different level of grappler. He's not just a small town motherfucker. He's not just some little dude that started grappling a couple years ago, you know, like Nasrat. He's a grappling phenom. This motherfucker been grappling since he was 5 or something. So, moving on. Nick Diaz, he fought Robbie Lawler in the fight. So, Robbie Lawler actually was able to get Nick Diaz out of there. It looked like Nick Diaz wasn't really putting in a lot of effort to try and make the fight happen. He was kind of just sitting back and letting Robbie Lawler dictate the pace in the second round. But in the first round, like he was putting out a lot of volume, like throwing a lot of punches in that round. In the first round, that motherfucker was throwing hundreds of punches. Like he threw 300 total punches for the whole fight. So it's like, okay, you threw all those punches, but you quit at the end of the fight. Like, why would you do that, bro? Like, you were doing so good, and then you quit because I mean, his endurance is one of the best in the division. He's training triathlon. So I don't know if it was a cardio factor. He didn't look like he was super tired when he was not, no, he didn't get knocked out. He just quit because he didn't want to continue. He didn't want to keep getting punched by Robbie Lawler. And Robbie Lawler's punches are just big, man. Like you gotta with a guy like Robbie Lawler, you gotta try and you don't want to keep the fight standing. You don't want to endure those punches from that motherfucker because he has such power and he has such placement on those punches, and he's able to just roll with your punches really well. He was rolling with Nick Diaz's punches really well, and he was. Oh, hello, Ansu. What's up, man? I don't know much about the UFC, but I still enjoy watching your live streams. Thanks, man. You're the only person that's up here, so I appreciate that. Nobody else is here, so it's great. But anyways, looking at the fights, Nick Diaz, he put up a performance that I thought was good. I mean, I thought he won the first round, so he definitely did something there, right? He won the first round. Second round, I thought Lawler won the second round. Just based on output, he was able to just nullify Nick Diaz's offense and counter him with those body shots. Oh my God, those body shots were really slowing. I think that's another thing that made Nick Diaz want to question whether or not he wants to continue fighting Robbie Lawler, because when you're taking those kind of punches, man, that really like slows you down later on in the fight. And also it's gonna have some type of consequences for you when you get older, because as you get older, your faculties start to decline, and those things that you did in your earlier years are going to catch up to you. They're going to catch up to you, man. Why do you think Muhammad Ali had fucking all these problems after his fight with Larry Holmes? He couldn't even talk properly. Like the man was like jittery like this. So you get hit in your head that many times, you're going to have some type of problems later on in life. So I mean, Nick Diaz, he quit to fight another day. His nose was bleeding. I guess that's a reason to quit a fight. I don't really see why that's a reason to quit a fight. I feel like he quit. He did quit, and there's no shame in quitting. There is, come on, let's not sugarcoat it. There is shame in quitting. If you're an MMA fighter at the top of your game, there definitely is shame in quitting. But it's like, okay, what do I do here? Do I keep fighting and then I may never be the same again because I've taken that much punishment from Robbie Lawler, that motherfucker that knocked out Rory McDonald, all these knockouts on his resume, this ruthless guy, just powerful and just monster, knocking people out. His fights with Carlos Condit and all these other legends, and the way he just knocked them out. You want to fight that motherfucker? Yeah, I mean, Nick Diaz did knock him out in the first fight, so that's something that may be interesting. I'm kind of groping my balls right now, though. That's why I'm doing this right now. Feels good. But anyways, moving on. Let's move on to the next fight. Valentina Shevchenko, my girl. I love that girl, man. I love her so much. And I would love to interview her, and the thing is, how come I don't get to interview these fighters? It's always the established media guys. But look at how much work I've put in on my channel. Like, I've put out so many videos promoting mixed martial arts and the UFC, but I still don't get no love? Come on, man. That's like kind of like throwing some shade at me, man. Like, I should be getting some type of love. And I know I'm not a big guy. Like, I'm not a big MMA guy like Brendan Schaub, Joe Rogan. I don't have the clout that these motherfuckers have. So obviously, I'm not going to get to interview Valentina. So let's forget about that. But Valentina Shevchenko, man, she was able to defend her title against Lauren Murphy. She was ranked number 3. And, Lauren Murphy went into that fight. I think she probably didn't really think she was going to win the fight. Or maybe she thought she was going to give her some problems. Or maybe she thought that she didn't know what to expect. Or she thought she was scared. Or I don't know. Like, her emotions going into the fight were probably not the best, because it was revealed later on that her striking coach, Alex, was not in the corner. So that's something that people may look to, but the thing is, like, Lauren, that's not going to change the outcome of the fight, because you are a good fighter. You have a good background in jiu-jitsu, and you're supposedly a brown belt, and you beat this other person and that other person. You are on a 5-fight win streak coming into the fight. So you must have some type of confidence coming into the fight for sure, because you beat 5 people to get there. So, I mean, you deserve the fight by the credentials, because you beat 5 people that were ranked above you, and you did win those fights. So the deserving part was very much there. She deserved the title shot. But did she think she could win the fight? I mean, looking at her interviews leading up to the fight, and just really looking at how she was carrying herself in the weigh-ins and the press conference, it looked like she was unsure of herself. She didn't really believe what she was saying. She didn't really think she was going to win the fight. She didn't think that she was actually going to have any chance of winning the fight. And, that's just something that comes with the territory, baby. Like, you get back to the fight and you train. But the thing is, like, actually looking at the fight. So round 1, Valentina just beat her up, leg kicks, kept her on the outside range, just really, really, really neutralized her offense. Every time Lauren would come in, she would just hit her with the right hook or the right, and our coaches were always telling her, circle left, Lauren, circle left. But the problem with circling left is that she's going to be susceptible to what? She's going to be susceptible to that right hand, right? Because she's circling left. She gets hit by the right hand or the right hook. But the thing is, her coaches are looking at the lesser of two evils, because what's Valentina's best punch? Every time you fight a mixed martial artist, you want to neutralize their best offense. You don't want to sit back and you don't want to fight their fight. You don't want to hook with a hooker, because, there might be Davis might knock you out. So looking at Valentina, her best punch is the left hand. So Lauren had to circle away from the left hand and neutralize that. But then that means she's open to the right hook. She's open to the right hand. She's open to the 1-2. So, she was getting hit coming in every time with those leg kicks. She was getting hit with those spinning kicks to the body. She was getting hit with those oblique kicks. She was getting hit with those kicks to the body again. Getting hit with the jab. Getting hit with the right hook. She had no offense going. She had nothing going on in the fight. She didn't have any type of offense going on Valentina. Valentina didn't even get hit, I think. She didn't even get hit. She didn't even get touched. I think her only game plan coming into the fight that would realistically work, in my opinion, was probably the grappling approach. And I actually told her in the fucking breakdown of that fight that she would have to come forward, throw with reckless abandonment, don't care about who's throwing back, throw with reckless abandonment, hooks to the body, just come forward. But she's not a boxer. She doesn't have those tools in her toolbox. She's not able to threaten Valentina with those inside boxing and dirty clinches and dirty boxing in the clinch. Come on, man, that's not Lauren Murphy's skill set. It's like asking Ronda Rousey to pull counter Amanda Nunes' punches, because going into the fight with Amanda Nunes and Ronda Rousey's coach was telling her to stick and move, jab, clinch, head movement. So you wanted her to move her head and then catch and shoot, right? You wanted her to basically counter. So whenever Amanda Nunes would come in, move and then counter her with that overhand right. But the thing is, coming back to Lauren Murphy, she doesn't have those counter-punching styles. She doesn't have that inside fighting. She doesn't have the kickboxing repertoire. So her kicks are very labored and bad, and she doesn't have the tool set. She has a world-class Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background, which is world-class. But she wasn't able to enforce the grappling. She was losing out on those underhook exchanges in the clinch, and she wasn't really... She wasn't beating her in the grappling either. So really at the end of the day, what it came down to was that Valentina Shevchenko was just the better fighter. She was just the better fighter. There was no way Lauren Murphy was gonna win that fight. That's just how it is, and that's just the truth of the matter. The whole fight, she couldn't come into range every time. So this is Valentina Shevchenko. This is Lauren Murphy. So every time I come in, I get hit. I go back, I get hit, and then Valentina's enforcing the grappling, holds her up against the cage, takes her down, and just dominates her. And what set it up was the right hook. After Valentina hit her with the right hook, Lauren got hurt. She stumbled a little bit. Her legs kind of went jelly. And then she hit her with the high kick, the left high kick. She stumbled. Then she blitzed her with a combination that was insane. I couldn't even see the punches so fast. And then Lauren got taken down, smashed, and just finished on the ground in the fourth round, I believe. I think it was because, Lauren really didn't have any confidence coming into the fight. I think she had confidence. Come on, what am I talking about? She had a 5-fight win streak coming into the fight. Of course she had confidence. But during the fight, as the fight goes longer and you're not able to get any offense going, that's going to frustrate the hell out of you. You're getting hit constantly coming in, and you can't even punish your opponent. That kind of makes you feel like, okay, what am I doing here? I'm fighting this person that's beating me every time, hitting me every time, and just countering me every time I come on the inside range. Every time I come on the inside, she's countering me with the right hook. So really, what it would require for Lauren Murphy to beat Valentina Shevchenko would be for her to build a boxing pedigree that is enough to bring it to the inside and then work on her clinch game and work on everything. Like, she has to work on everything. Her hands, her kicks, her distance engagement, like everything has to be better for her to be able to beat Valentina. And I don't know if she's going to be able to do that. She's 38 years old now, and she's kind of at the end of her career. She's 38. She's old. Valentina's 33. I don't think Lauren will ever be able to become champion as long as Valentina is the champion. It's not gonna happen. I'm sorry, Lauren, but it's just how it is. Who does she fight next? Cynthia Calvillo. She called her out in the post-fight interview. I think that's probably the fight to make. Cynthia got knocked out by Jessica Andrade. And I don't think Lauren Murphy wants to fight Jessica Andrade. That's another thing. Why don't you want to fight Jessica Andrade? You scared of her? But anyways, Valentina Shevchenko, the GOAT, the best at flyweight. There's really nobody else to threaten her. Who does she fight next? It seems like the next fight for Valentina right now would be Amanda Nunes. That's the fight to make. I feel that's the fight to make. That's the best fight to make. That is the only fight to make. Because after Amanda beats Juliana Pena in December, in January 2022, who's Valentina going to fight? Because in the rankings right now, all I'm seeing is maybe Joanne Calderwood, but she hasn't really got a win streak going. Like, you have to be deserving to fight Valentina. Like, you can't just come in there and deserve a title shot coming off a loss against Lauren Murphy. Like, you got to do better than that to get a title shot. So, these girls have to kind of fight it out and see who gets another title shot. But at the moment, I don't really see anybody that can threaten. I don't really see anyone that's deserving, like a title contender. Because Andrade got knocked out by Valentina. She doesn't. I don't see anything different that's going to happen in that fight. She beat Calvillo, but she needs to get a couple more wins. Amanda Nunes. That is the only fight to make at this point. Amanda Nunes. But the thing is, like, Amanda's too big for her right now. She fights at 135 and fights at 145. Fighting at 125, if she wants to come down, that would be impossible. So the only thing I could see happening here is that Valentina would have to go up to 135 and fight her at bantamweight. That's a good fight, but I feel like that would kind of hold up the division at flyweight with the women because they wouldn't be able to fight. Like, what's going to happen there? Maybe they'll make an interim fight. But that's the thing. Like, it's only going to be what? Like, Amanda's going to fight in December, and Valentina just defended her title, and it's October now. September, late September, she defended the title. So it's like, okay, October, November, December. She's going to take 1 or 2 months off. And the contenders right now, there's really nobody. Valentina's kind of cleaned out her division. There's really nobody with a win streak right now. Everybody that has a win streak has been knocked out or finished by Valentina. Okay, so really the fight that makes sense is Amanda. That's the only fight. I'm trying to really be honest and fair to these women. I'm trying to really be fair to these women that fight at flyweight, but there's really nobody that I can see right now that would be able to beat Valentina, and nobody that has a win streak that warrants a title shot. So okay, Amanda, that's the fight to make. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, move on to the main event. Oh my god, this fight was so amazing. Alexander Volkanovski, he was defending his title against Brian Ortega. He's the number one ranked contender or the number two. I think I mean, he just beat Korean Zombie. I mean, Max Holloway is the number one contender, so I think he's probably number two or number three, but that's besides the point. So the fight starts, and Alexander Volkanovski is just controlling range and just touching him and outscoring him in the first round. And Volkanovski was just beating him with distance and kicks and timing and movement. He was just using his footwork and really just making it his fight and being very active and throwing a lot of punches and kicks. And Brian Ortega never really got going. He never really got started. Like, he never really got his own offense going in this fight. Like, he was kind of just being in the moment. And for the first two rounds, I feel like he lost the first two rounds. Third round, he knocked down Brian Ortega and Volkanovski with a good shot. And this is the moment I gotta sit up right here. Like, I gotta think about this for a second. But Brian Ortega, he knocked down Alexander Volkanovski with a right hand over the top because of the counter from the leg kick. He was countering the leg kick, and he countered the leg kick with a beautiful right hand. Volkanovski's on the ground. Brian Ortega jumps on him, pulls guillotine in mount, and he has the grapevine underneath his back, so now he can't even buck him to try and take him off the mount. And the mounted guillotine was probably the tightest guillotine that I've ever seen that has never actually been successful, because Volkanovski didn't go out. He fucking turned into him, got that single leg and used it to get back up to his feet. Went to half guard from there. Half guard, single leg. He went to half guard, then he went to single leg, then he came back up. Then, no, he didn't get back up. He went to half guard, then he tried to get back up. Then Brian Ortega put him in a triangle choke. And I mean, the triangle wasn't as tight as the guillotine, but he was able to escape that as well, you know. And I think it was because Brian Ortega wasn't controlling the underhook as much on the left side with the triangle. Like, he wasn't really controlling his arm enough. So maybe that's why the triangle didn't work out. But man, Volkanovski, you know, looking at the fight live, I was looking at the fight live right here. I was looking at the fight live. I was high as hell. I was smoking weed, smoking my joint. And I was watching the fight super live. And I was looking at this, like, this. Oh my God, what did I just see? Because Volkanovski, what a warrior, man. That guy is just such a fucking genius. You know, because the amount of people that would have tapped in that position, in that mounted guillotine, is probably 99.99% of fighters would have tapped out. I would have tapped. I would have died. I would tap. You would tap. The viewer would tap. You guys in the chat would tap. But he didn't tap. He got out and he just showed what a champion he is. And, you know, to see how the fans treated him after the Max Holloway, the second fight, you know, he just went in there and fought. He didn't score the fight. Like, I don't know why the Holloway fans were just so angry at him, calling him a paper champ and fake this and fake that. And Volkanovski was just like, not today. Not today. I'm not losing my belt today. I'm going to continue fighting because I'm a fighter. And he was just... And then there's another thing I got to talk to you guys about. If you look at Brian Ortega, the guy was on the ground like a fucking starfish. The man was on the ground like a starfish, and he couldn't get up. His corner literally had to pick him up and put him on the fucking stool, which is not allowed. And then Herb Dean's asking him like 10 different questions, like, and he's answering all those questions wrong. You're giving him all this time to recover. Like, he's recovering here. He's not. Like, he's like, the bell rang, let's go. Like, let's go. Like, the bell rang, let's go. We need to fight now. Like, you're giving him extra time to recover. What part of the game is that? The doctor came in. If he answers the question wrong, that's it. It's over. Stop the fight. Like, that's how I was thinking. I mean, it seemed like the doctors and the ref was giving him so much time to fucking continue to recover. And I was like, okay, what is this? I mean, the fight should have been called right then and there, in my opinion. Habib's asking him, how many fingers can I hold up? And he doesn't even know how many fingers he's holding up. He says 2 instead of 1, and he said 2 instead of 5, or what? Like, you're looking at the motherfucker, you can't even see him, you can't even follow him, you're like falling all over the place and shit and seeing stars, and you're continuing. And then he loses the 4th round. He's getting beat really bad. 5th round, he actually wins the 5th round. So I'm looking at that fight as like, oh my God, this guy actually won the 5th round. So I scored it 4-1 for Alexander Volkanovski. Volkanovski just dominated the fight, was able to just destroy that motherfucker and beat his ass real bad, and just really dug deep. You know, that's probably the best fight I've ever seen in UFC history. The greatest fight of all time. The greatest fight since sliced. The greatest fight in the history of the UFC's featherweight division. Man, was it better than the Holloway Calvin Kattar fight? It was, in my opinion, because of the multiple facets to the MMA, the grappling and the ability to escape that mounted gate. You guys know that Brian Ortega is a fucking black belt on the ground. He trained with the who's who of the fucking Gracies, the fucking Renner Gracie, the guy that does the Gracie breakdowns on YouTube. He trains with that guy. That's his jiu-jitsu coach. He got a black belt from that guy, from the original Gracie family. Those are the motherfuckers that gave him the black belt. No, but the thing is, his grappling his jiu-jitsu is great, Ortega. But his wrestling is just bad. You know, he was not able to take it to the ground. But anyways, what's next for Volkanovski? I don't know. I mean, I think probably wait for another contender, you know, and maybe go up and fight. He was thinking about going up to 155 and fighting Conor, but that's just bullshit. I don't really believe that. Yeah, great event. What fights have I not talked about? Because I saw a lot of fights this weekend. What was there, a female fight? Oh, I talked about the Valentina fight. I already talked about the main event. I talked about the co-main event. I talked about Valentina, Nick Diaz, Darren, what's his name? That guy that wrestled Dan Hooker. Cool. I'm done.